The NDP are calling for the head of the Wildrose Electricity and Renewables Shadow Minister, Don McIntyre, on a platter. Why? Well, because he takes a skeptical and often scientific approach to the theory of global warming. Now, that's good. Science is by nature skeptical. If it's settled, it's not science, it's ideology. Now, more specifically, Shay Anderson, that NDP MLA who once called peaceful farmers rallying against Bill 6 extremely violent and brutal, wants Wildrose leader Brian Jean to fire Don McIntyre for saying some perfectly normal, reasonable things. Shay Anderson issued a statement, it's a political demand letter really, where he says it's irresponsible to lend climate change denying the credibility of the office of the official opposition, and unless Mr. Jean agrees with what Mr. McIntyre is saying, he must remove him from his position. And then Anderson goes on to list the things that McIntyre has said that he thinks are problematic, and he gave the sources. That comes in handy later. First, McIntyre said in a press conference on January 2nd, the science isn't settled, you show me all the stats. Then in October, McIntyre told the Edmonton Journal that climate change is a reality. It's been a reality ever since this world was first spit out into orbit. And then he goes on to say, we are going through a natural change, as you well know. The question is, how much of that change is being aggravated by man's contribution? Okay. Then in November, in the legislature, he called green energy companies hogs at the trough. Okay, all good stuff. Sort of makes me wish I could vote for Don McIntyre, but it sure got the NDP know-nothings with their hair on fire. But I have to show you something else. I took the time to fact-check those quotes that Shay Anderson used in his political extortion letter to Brian Jean. Look at this. I double-checked that Edmonton Journal quote. It is accurate, and McIntyre did say those things. But he also said something else right in the middle of the quotes Anderson used that Anderson conveniently left out. McIntyre also said, I believe that climate change is real, and of course, people are having an impact through releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. I am not an alarmist, however. The whole political extortion letter from Anderson is prefaced on the accusation that McIntyre is a denier of sorts. Does he sound like a denier? No. But the truth doesn't fit the agenda, so Anderson lied by omission and hoped no one would bother to double check. Of course, this is a tyrannical act on behalf of the government to demand that even their opposition think the same way as them. It's the kind of thing they do in North Korea or Cuba. They rewrite your own words to lie about you, and if you oppose what the government has done to you, well, then you're fired. According to the NDP, the official opposition, well, they can't oppose anything, or the Ministry of Truth will come and get you. Have you ever wondered why more science teachers don't speak up and offer the other side of the global warming debate? Well, they fear bullying by their peers in education, and now they can fear bullying by the government. The government could call them up and make them lose their jobs. This is dangerous what the NDP are trying to do, purging dissent. They want scientific skeptics fired? Who's next? Christians? Gun owners? This is a huge, slippery slope. But there's another reason why the NDP want McIntyre gone from his portfolio. He knows how badly the NDP are destroying the electricity system in Alberta with their carbon tax and their know-nothing tinkering of the power purchase agreements that will ultimately cost Albertans billions. And McIntyre can explain it in a layman's way, in a way normal people can understand. And how is McIntyre able to do all that? Well, let's look at what he did before politics. He was a faculty member at NAIT's School of Sustainable Building and Environmental Management, where he worked as an instructor and a curriculum developer in the alternative energy program. No wonder the NDP want him gone. No one understands green energy and electricity grid in Alberta like he does. The NDP can't have someone that knows something watching what they're up to. And besides, the NDP need to look at themselves if they're hungry for resignations. Finance Minister Joe Ceci has gotten Alberta's credit downgraded multiple times while racking up the largest debt in Alberta history. Human Services Minister Irfan Sabir neglected to give the RCMP the relevant files to investigate the possible murder of a foster child after he told the legislature he did. And NDP MLA Rod Loyola praised Hugo Chavez. He even held a candlelight vigil for him. I mean, it's not like McIntyre campaigned against the oil sands like Sephora Berman, Rachel Notley's hand-picked chair of the oil sands advisory group. McIntyre hasn't actually done anything wrong. He had a wrong thought. But if you're in the NDP, all of that hideous failure I just listed, it's perfectly acceptable. But skepticism, that's wrong thing. You can't do that. Asking for McIntyre to be fired for being a skeptic is way worse than some 20-second joke chant of lock her up by some frustrated Albertans. This is the soft tyranny of socialism, and you just know the mainstream media will not call the NDP out for it. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. To learn more about Shannon Phillips and the other radicals in Rachel Notley's NDP government, go to thedestroyers.ca to download my book today.